Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby and today I'm going to be doing my last wrap-up of 2019. And in the month of December, I was able to read 10 books, which is actually one of my lowest read amount of books for a month this entire year. To be fair, I have been having a video going up every day since December 13th, so I've been putting a lot of time and energy into my channel this month and not so much energy into reading this month. And out of those 10 books, I was able to read 3,542 pages. For ratings I gave out this month, I had 5 5-star books, which I know seems like a hell of a lot, but to be fair, 4 of those were rereads, so. And then I had 4 3-star books and 1 2-star book. And then as far as genres go, I read 4 thrillers this month, 4 romances, 1 sci-fi, and 1 horror novel. And then I only read 1 male author and 9 female authors. Let's just jump into what I read this month. So the first book I picked up this month was The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. This one is actually an ARC copy. This one goes on sale February 18th next year. And this one is an adult thriller. And I was really looking forward to reading this one because I really enjoyed The Broken Girls by this author. And this one kind of has like a similar plot to The Broken Girls in the sense that it follows this woman in upstate New York in 1982 who's working at this Sundown Motel. And then in alternate chapters, we follow this girl who goes to the Sundown Motel in 2017 to try and uncover the secrets of her past and why her aunt disappeared when she was working at the Sundown Motel. I feel like this book was really good in the sense that the Sundown Motel was very creepy and it had this really creepy atmosphere that I've really come to love in thrillers lately. But the issue that I personally had with this book was that I felt like the story would get confusing at times because both of the perspectives were just so similar. Because we would be following Vivian in 1982 and she got a job at the Sundown Motel, and then we see creepy shit happening to her, right? And then in the present day chapters, 2017, it's the girl's niece going back to the Sundown Motel to uncover what happened there, and then her chapters felt so similar to Vivian's chapters, it was kind of confusing to read at times, and I just felt like the story got kind of repetitive because something would happen to Vivian in her chapters and you would see something happen to her, and then in the next chapter her niece would find out about what you just read about, so it would be like very, I don't know, like you're just waiting for the main character to like catch up to what you know. So that's the only thing that kind of like drove me nuts about this story, was that I felt like we had already like I didn't see the point, I guess, of the present day chapters because we had just read about those things in the past day chapters. So maybe if this book was only from Vivian's point of view, it would have been a lot more interesting. But I mean, this book still did have a really great spooky atmosphere and it was a good thriller. Like there were some good plot twists that I didn't see coming. And I don't know, I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. Like, I didn't like this one as much as The Broken Girls, but I'm definitely still going to check out everything this author publishes in the future. The second book I picked up this month was The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This was actually a reread. I know I read this book earlier this year in February, and then I decided to listen to the audiobook as my reread because I really wanted to reread this book this month to confirm the fact that this is my favorite book of 2019. And yeah, I mean, after reading this audiobook, like, yeah, this is my favorite book of 2019. This book, I'm sure you've heard me talk about it so many freaking times and you're sick of it, so I'm just gonna move on to the next thing I read this month. So the third book that I picked up this month was The Wives by Taryn Fisher. This was actually one of my book of the month selections for the month of December. And this one is an adult thriller that I am so excited about because Taryn Fisher is finally writing more thrillers, which makes me so happy because I love her writing so much. This one I was really interested in because it follows this girl who's married to this man who has 2 other wives, and she knows about the 2 other wives and she's okay with it. She only gets to see him 1 day a week. He comes and visits her every Thursday. And she lives in Seattle, but his job and his other 2 wives live in Portland, Oregon. It had the best beginning, and like at the beginning of this book, I was certain it was going to be a 5-star book for me. But then around part 2, like in the middle of this book, it takes this turn for the worse, and it just started to get so cliche and tropey and everything I hate in thrillers. So I'm kind of like torn over how I feel about this book because it started off really, really strong and really, really interesting, and I couldn't predict where it was going. And then by part 2, the story just really fell apart for me, unfortunately. This one ended up being more like a 3-star too. Like, it was really, really good in the beginning, and I think this is still something I would recommend because the beginning is just so good. Ugh. The fourth book I finished this month is The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling, and I actually did end up DNFing this one after like 250 pages. I have been reading this book since the Night Marathon, which was in October, and then I switched to the audiobook in November because I was trying to get through it, and then I went back to reading it physically this month, and I just can't do it anymore. Like, I just don't care about this story, and I just don't care about where it goes. Like, it's just so boring. And this book is supposed to be this crazy horror sci-fi novel about this woman that is in this cave that's underground, and there's only two characters in the book. It's the woman and then like the woman that's like talking in her ear, like guiding her through this cave, and it's supposed to be very creepy, like The Martian and stuff, and it was starting off very good and I was really interested, but then like literally the story never goes anywhere, and it's just the same thing over and over and over again. Like, something will happen in the caves and then they have to regroup, and something will happen in the caves, and it's just like so boring and so slow, and I'm sad because I really wanted to love this one. But I ended up giving this one 2 out of 5 stars. The 5th book that I picked up this month is The Mother-in-Law, and I actually only ended up picking up this one because it got nominated as a selection for like best thriller on Goodreads, so I was kind of curious to check it out after it got that nomination because I was like, oh, what the heck is this? Like, I never even heard of it. This book was just okay. It's not exactly like my favorite kind of thing in thrillers. Like, basically all this book is about is it's about this girl who meets her mother-in-law in the past chapters, and you can obviously tell that the mother-in-law does not like this girl, and then in the present day chapters they find out that the mother-in-law just killed herself, or at least there's suspicion that there was foul play though, so like she might have been murdered, but they're saying that she killed herself because of how it looks. And so you're going back and forth between the past chapters of when they first met and then like the present day when she supposedly killed herself. I don't know, I wasn't really shocked by anything that happened in the plot, and I never really felt connected with the characters, and I just didn't really care, I guess, about the characters either. This one was just like mediocre for me. I think I gave this one 2 or 3 stars. I don't really remember. I think it was 2 stars. The 6th book that I picked up this month was Someday by Emma Scott, and Emma Scott is one of my favorite authors, and this is her most recently published male romance. This is like the first male romance she's ever written. This story follows Max, who was kicked out of his home as a teenage boy because he's gay, and because of that he was homeless for a period of time and he became a drug addict because of it. But now it's years later and he's back on his feet and he's working as a nurse, and he's recently moved back to Seattle to try and get closer to his family again. And then we follow his love interest Silas, who is also a recovering drug addict, and they meet at this Narcotics Anonymous group, and then we find out that Max is going to get hired to be the nurse for Silas's dad, because Silas's dad is the CEO dude of this pharmaceutical company. He's gonna need a nurse because he has this illness, and so they hire Max to be his nurse, and so they have to like meet again even though they've originally met at this Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And oh my gosh, this freaking romance is everything. I know you probably saw this book on my favorites of the year list because it made it all the way up to number 2 because of how much I just freaking love this book and these characters so much. This book has a lot of different tropes that I really love. One of them is 2 broken characters coming together again and finding hope in each other, which is just one of my favorite things ever, and I feel like Emma Scott is one of the best authors at doing that. And then another trope that I really love is close proximity, like forced close proximity, which I really like because they're always in Silas's dad's mansion. I also really love Silas's brother Eddie in this book. He's definitely a standout character and somebody that I just really loved reading about. Like, he's so soft and so sweet and I just adore him. And not to mention Silas and Max both have the most tragic, horrible past, and I just felt so much for both of these characters. Like, they were just both so well fleshed out and just so beautiful, and I just loved them so dearly. So this book means a whole lot to me. It was an easy 5 out of 5 stars, and I honestly want to reread it like as soon as humanly possible. Like, it was just so good. Alright, the 7th book that I read this month was Christmas in the City, and this was actually a romance anthology kind of thing with a bunch of different authors that contributed to this. And I'm not gonna lie, the only reason I read this book this month is because Jamie and Wes, my favorite male couple of all time from the book Him, have their own short story in this collection. So that's like mainly the #1 reason why I picked this book up, and so The short story for Jamie and Wes was amazing. It gave me all of the fuzzy feelings, and it kind of follows Jamie when he's like doing his coaching thing, and there's like an issue that happens there and they have to like work something out, and it's just, oh my god, I just miss these characters so much. So for their story alone, I think it's worth reading, but there's also some other like decent romances in this. You know, the thing about romance is that I really don't think a short story works for romance unless I've already previously known the characters from another book, because a short story just does not give me enough time to get close to the characters, and it doesn't give me enough time to see a character arc. You know what I mean? Because like the thing I love so much about romances is the build up. I love the slow burn of a romance. So in short stories, it just really doesn't work for me. So a lot of these stories were really like cringy and awful. But there is one in this book that Vi Keeland and Penelope Douglas wrote together, and I already really love that author duo in a lot of books, but their short story was actually really good, and I would actually really love to see that short story as a full-length novel. Like, I feel like that one had so much potential, and it was so good. So that's pretty much all I have to say about this book. It was like a 3-star read because, again, I love Jamie and Wes's story, and I love the Vi Keeland and Penelope Douglas story, but everything else was just like, meh. Alright, the 8th book I read this month was Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. This one was actually a reread, and this one was really exciting for me to reread because I haven't read this book since January 2014, so it's been about 6 years, and I listened to the audiobook as a reread for this one, and it was just so much fun rereading this. And this one is an adult thriller, if you didn't know. I had only associated my love with this book with the big plot twist and me thinking this book is so great because of the plot twist, and like it is. Like, the plot twist is great, and I think it's one of the best plot twists of all time, but I still think this book is incredible because of the writing. Like, the writing is just so good, it's so clever and so smart, and this author just really knows and understands these characters so well, and Nick and Amy are two of my favorite characters that I've ever read about because they're just so fucked up, but they're so fascinating. I really just love this book so much. So much. It was an easy 5-star book for me, and I recently just uploaded my rereading my favorite books vlog yesterday, so I'll link that down below where I talk a lot more in depth on this book. The 9th book that I picked up this month was The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This was another reread. This is one of my favorite books that I read last year in 2018, and so I really just wanted to give this one another go. This book was great a second time as well. It's one of my favorite romances of all time. It takes place in Alaska, and we follow this girl that is from Toronto, and she's going to Alaska to see her dad maybe before he potentially dies because he has cancer, and then she starts to get involved with one of her dad's pilots because her dad runs this like plane company in Alaska, and so she starts to get involved with Jonah, who's this pilot that works for her dad, and it's just the best, okay? It's just the best. It has like this great hate to love romance, and it has the forced close proximity. So again, I talk about this one a ton in my rereading vlog, so again, I'll link that down below if you want to see all of my crazy thoughts on this book. And then my last final reread of the year was We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. This book is a book that I consider to be one of my absolute all-time favorite books, so it was really great to reread this because I haven't read this book since 2016, and in the year of 2016 I read it twice that year, but then I haven't read it again since. So it was really fascinating to read it again a couple years later. I feel like it definitely still holds up. Like, I will admit, like, towards the middle of this book, I do feel like it starts to drag just a little bit, but honestly, like, it just doesn't change the fact that this is one of my favorite books of all time. I love the way that this book is written. I love Henry and Diego's characters so much. Yeah, it was just a really great experience rereading this, and I got to read some of this on, like, Christmas Eve and right around Christmas time, so it just really warmed my soul. And yeah, this was an easy 5 out of 5 stars, and again, you can see my rereading vlog down below and hear all of my thoughts on this one. So yeah, those are all the books that I read in December. I can't believe 2019 is very quickly coming to an end. This is just so wild. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what your thoughts are on any of these books, and also let me know how many books did you read in December, what was your favorite book that you read in December, and what was your least favorite book. My favorite book that I discovered this month is definitely Someday by Emma Scott. This book is freaking life-changing. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching in 2019, and I will see you guys very soon with a new video. My stats video is going up tomorrow, hopefully. And that is a video that I'm very excited about. It's all the books I read in 2019 plus some stats because I'm a nerd. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. So I'll see you with that tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.